And then the third one could be like just a shot-for-shot remake of her, but with Ryan Reynolds' voice instead of his ex-wife.
Fair. Or Terminator.
Oh, imagine! Oh, that would be dope.
Ryan Reynolds becomes
Skynet.
Skynet. There's the bloody
Free Guynet.
Free Guynet.
Your favorite film is awful.
2, 1. Hi, and welcome to Your Favourite Film is Awful, the weekly show where we take your favourite films and new releases and defend them against negative reviews. As always, I am Luke MJ Powell, and with me today, it's Shawn Grimsley. How you doing, Shawn?
I'm dancing.
He is, and it's beautiful. It's 80s vibes. I'm getting all the 80s vibes from you.
I mean, I was born in the 80s, so, it's actually probably because I'm drinking. I'm probably just a little bit drunk. Let's be honest.
Fair enough. Right, today we are going to be doing the 2021 new release, Free Guy.
Free Guy!
Shawn, what is that film about?
Free Guy is a movie directed by Shawn Levy, starring Ryan Reynolds and Jodie Comer. And it is about a character played by Ryan Reynolds called Guy, who does everything the same way every single day. You remember the Lego movie? Kind of like the beginning of that. And then one day sees the beautiful Jodie Comer walk past, and something awakens in him, and he realizes that he wants to do different things with his life. And it goes from there. We find out that he's actually a non-playable character in a video game. I'm trying to be less elusive about my descriptions for Your Favorite Film is Awful now, because I'm assuming the people that are listening have seen it. And in doing so, he finds out that I'm going to stop there. I've done enough. Everybody knows what it's about. They've seen it. I mean, they've spent a lot of money, and it's been hugely successful, even during a pandemic. So it's done well. Well done, Ryan Reynolds.
Well done.
You've done it
for this film, which it has been explained by you, but has been described by others in a less kind tone, such as Pete Abyss. With this half-star review.
I really hope that's his real name.
Oh, it's too cool. It's too cool to be his real name. This movie was the Truman Show for white privileged gamers. No punchline.
Is that the whole review?
That's it. That's the whole.
Like that.
We always start with a short one.
I do like that review. I do like that review. There is a whole section to this movie where. I saw this with Matt from the Full Fat channel, from the Full Fat podcast. Yeah, Full Fat Matt. And we both actually really enjoyed it about the same. And we both had a conversation afterwards about how, all of the actual... It felt like a movie that was directed by someone that wasn't part of the generation it was about. Like, there was something missing in the understanding of the way that actual gaming communities work and how people would buy into it. But we agreed that the movie moved along and had its heart in the right place, that it never weighed you down and you couldn't get over that even as it was happening. But it did definitely have that thing. And I really felt the Truman Show vibe. And for me, it was to a detriment as well. The idea that the whole world would be watching this guy like it's the asteroid coming to Earth in Armageddon or Deep Impact. I just didn't buy that enough. Like, it doesn't feel like the reality of the real world. Do you know what I mean? Like, with the Truman Show, I really think that they constructed that well, because they didn't say the whole world is watching. They said the whole world was watching. But the way it's constructed in the movie is that you just get shown a number of the same characters watching it. So it was more like Gogglebox in the Truman Show, which kind of grounded it in a tangible thing that you were like, that character's actually like unique, and I remember that. Whereas this one's like, everybody's watching in Times Square, and it's like, that wouldn't happen. Even in today's like all connected world, we're literally leaving Afghanistan right now, and it's causing nothing but turmoil. But there are still millions of people that don't know about that and don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's like a video game character wouldn't have as much. I'm trying to think of like the biggest pop cultural event I've ever been part of or felt like I was part of. For the one that rings true to me is like the release of The Dark Knight. Like, it wasn't just a movie. It felt like something was happening.
Right.
and it's still that summer of 2008, one of the greatest summers of my life. But it wasn't the same for everybody. And I was like, go on.
I feel like you're looking at it at a slightly skewed angle, where you think of it more as like this sort of thing would be a big pop culture thing that occurred, when I think it's more of like a meme.
Right.
And in that way, like it exaggerates quite extensively with its whole plastering it on Times Square.
That's the stuff.
But like for me, during your talk there, the one thing that popped into my head was Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that I can just say that name and we both know what I'm on about, it is kind of like, and I feel that's kind of what would happen with Blue Shirt Guy in a more realistic setting. But I can understand why they did it in that over the top, oh, it's everywhere. And to that extent, I can understand where like the Truman Show comes in, because on like the posters and on the DVD cover, it is like, I want to say the Madison Square Gardens TV, but no, that's the UK place.
I think it's just it's just a massive screen somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a massive TV.
Yeah.
So I get it. The Truman Show for white privileged gamers.
I mean, there is an arrogance to this movie but I think it's an arrogance that's fully earned, where it's just like, keep up with this. Like, it's just like, we're not going to dumb this down. But its target audience is the kind of people that grew up in this generation. And I think...
Yes.
I think that's why I took a bit more... It's that thing that me and Matt were talking about. It's that idea that, as much as we could suspend our disbelief, it wouldn't have been that much harder to do another draft where you kind of tidied those up a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
But I wonder how much of that they were just trying to make more accessible for audiences that aren't so familiar with it, because there are, I'm in my early 30s, but there are people of my age that probably do not understand some of this stuff, and that's okay. It's hardly like Marvel Avengers Endgame. If you go to see Avengers Endgame without having seen the others, more fool you. That's your own fault. It's like this is accessible, I think, to all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I can understand where Pete is coming from. There is a bit of a... It's that whole... this is a character in a world who doesn't know he's part of that world, and then at the end he breaks free from that world, and the world is cheering for him. So
yeah.
I can see it in like a... If you were to write down the bare essence of both of the things, there would be parallels, but I don't think it's true, because it kind of...
You mean Truman?
Hey. I think the comparison is detrimental to both properties, because if you compare Truman Show to this, you're dumbing down a lot of the themes and the moral questions that the Truman Show is trying to bring, and if you compare this to Truman Show, you're trying to raise it up to that, and it won't meet that same level in those certain areas. So each one are gonna suffer by the comparison.
Yeah, I think Truman Show is a film and Free Guy is a movie.
Yes. Bringing it back to a previous episode.
Hey, callbacks, come on. Kill the bird.
Love it. Right, are you ready for a long, critical review?
I'm not.
0 out of 4.
Wow, what a scale.
By Rex Reed.
Hi, Rex Reed. That's a great porn star name.
That is a good one. Okay, so this is multiple paragraphs. As I just said, it is the long review, so we'll be here for a little while, but hopefully I can speed through it. Another Ryan Reynolds movie is hardly anything to recommend or write home about, but he's undeniably wholesome looking, Nautilus pumped, and camera ready, which is all today's movie industry cares about, and he possesses enough crude charm to make even a lump of forgettable fluff like Free Guy an occasionally tolerable way to waste 2 hours in the middle of a summer heatwave. That is not a recommendation.
First of all, I do want to give a shout out to Ryan Reynolds for helping guys like me with extra large foreheads and distinct chin shapes. Because that's a good looking man. And
He is a very good-looking man.
And I've got a very similar face shape to him. I'm nowhere near as handsome or as charming, but he's given me some sort of hope in this cold, cruel, windy world. There is an aspect to this. Ryan Reynolds is almost. I still give him a lot of credit because I've seen him do lots of indie stuff that I think a lot of people haven't. But he very much reinvented himself as a movie star with the release of Deadpool. And the way he reinvented himself was he did the exact same thing that The Rock does, which is The Rock plays himself in every movie now. And Ryan Reynolds does the exact same thing. He plays a version of himself. It's also what Chris Pratt does. They are not diversifying anything. They have become the brand of themselves. And I think Ryan Reynolds will... I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I think he'll start to do some more out there fare again and trying to do some non-blockbuster stuff. But it's
one of those, like, he'll ride the wave of brand Ryan Reynolds until that brand is not earning the big bucks, and then I think he'll change the brand.
Yeah, I think he's got enough of the big bucks now. I just think it's a matter of time with him. You know, like how Tom Cruise has pretty much steered almost exclusively to action films, bar one or two that I can think of off the top of my head, since his PR meltdown in the mid 2010s. So like I think it was 2005 when he had the massive career meltdown. The only thing that has been successful for him has been doing his action franchise. So he's very much playing it safe because that's the brand that's working for him. But if Tom Cruise suddenly came out with a movie about how, you know, he was a victim of child abuse, you fully know, given Tom Cruise's history before all of this, that he can play that role. And I'm really looking forward to him aging out of action and doing some sort of Paul Newman stuff. Like, I'm really looking forward to that because, you know, rewatching Magnolia the other day, I'm just like, should have won the Oscar. Should have won the Oscar. But
no. He owns the freaking the action movies at the moment.
He does. He does, and I'm happy for him to keep doing it. But I'm still looking forward to the day when he decides to stop, because I know that we get that old Tom Cruise back, where he mixed it up a little bit more.
Ethan Hawke with a walking stick.
Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hunt.
It's the same guy.
But I do think they should cast him in one of those movies as one of the bad guys, because he'd have a great time. Anyway, whereas I've seen that Ryan Reynolds can do those other roles. You know, he's done some stuff with Atom and Goyam. He's done some stuff with the guy that runs Script Notes, whose name is escaping my head at the moment. He's done kind of weirder movies, and I'd really like to see him do that again. However, with Free Guy, I went into this not expecting a great deal because I'm a little bit bored of the Ryan Reynolds shtick. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I found him more tolerable. I think it's because this film has far more earnestness to it than I was expecting. And I really appreciated that. And it allowed that side of him to come out a little bit more.
Yes. Well, yeah, they like sneak a rom-com film into this action-y video game film.
Yeah, and it's kind of frustrating because when you get to the end of the movie and they've built up to this whole thing, I would just wish they'd spent more time developing that romance between those two a little bit more, whereas actually it plays by proxy via Ryan Reynolds, and as a result, it doesn't quite. And everybody's on. What's the guy from Stranger Things called? Why have I forgotten the actor's name?
Joe Carey.
Joe Carey. Everyone's on his side because he's Steve from Stranger Things. It's like we love him already. We know that our sympathies lie with him as a result of that, and I just wish they could have sat with that a little bit more rather than bank on us buying it. I did buy it. I thought the ending was lovely. I just wish we could have seen that develop a little bit more.
Very quick, inconsequential tangent.
Go ahead.
But about that end scene where they're like, Keys and Maisie are like looking across the road at each other. Yeah. So the two. They're looking across the road at each other.
Smiles and he nods, and she smiles and she nods.
And lovey-dove, birds flying in the air. It's wonderful. But they keep having like cars whiz by, or at least the sound of cars whizzing by, to establish that it's across the road. That's why they're not getting closer.
Yeah.
And then there's no like pull-out shot of the road is clear. So when they like stepped forward, I was like, are they gonna fully twist it? Are they gonna meet Joe Black this film?
I thought, because I was wondering if they were going to set it up for a sequel, that they have to make her an artificial intelligence for her to survive. And that's how they were going to do the sequel. Now, my prediction for the sequel is they're going to threaten to shut down the servers because it was like a pop cultural moment. And, you know, it's been like a few years, people who would have moved on from Guy, and it's just costing money. And so they're going to try and bring his consciousness out of the game into some sort of robot, Tesla bot kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's... that'll definitely bring a new version of what Free Guy...
That's what I'm saying. How free can he get?
I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense, though. It's because they do talk of it as if it's the first legit artificial intelligence, but it's just kind of stuck in this little indie video game at the end. So it makes sense that they'd try and pull it out of the game.
That's my prediction. And then the third one could be like just a shot-for-shot remake of her, but with Ryan Reynolds' voice instead of his ex-wife.
Fair. Or Terminator.
Oh, imagine. Oh, that would be dope.
Ryan Reynolds becomes
Skynet.
There's the bloody
Free Guynet.
Free Guynet. Okay, let us continue. Under the unfocused direction of Shawn Levy, a tirelessly prolific director responsible for an interminable list of gimmicky TV shows and sci-fi flicks, including the horrible Night at the Museum franchise, and written by the equally unimpressive team of Matt Lieberman and Zach Penn, the unbearable Free Guy is another incoherent entry in the current disturbing trend towards movies about artificial intelligence and alternate realities that take place inside computers.
Okay, so I've just looked up who actually wrote this because I didn't do any research beforehand. Zach Penn has a pretty good history, I'm not going to lie. Like, not everything's worked, but he's done it. He was part
Within this review, he was credited for The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he did X-Men too. He worked on the Avengers script. You know, those are good. The Incredible Hulk has great moments. And also, those movies are written, even you get credited. You know, the WGA, you can still have loads of people write on them without getting credited. They get a handsome paycheck. You know, it's a great living. But but he also did X-Men The Last Stand. So it's like, and Elektra. And Inspector Gadget.
Hey.
I did do Last Action Hero, which is fucking fantastic. So, you know, free pass for life there. Also misunderstood upon its release. No, yeah, I don't know. I think this movie's heart is totally in the right place. I watching the trailers and stuff, I'm like, this could be fun, but it could also just be absolute trash. I think it sits somewhere with... I think it sits on the fun side of things. I think it's the kind of movie I'm going to watch this again in 5 years when I'm like, oh yeah, I've forgotten kind of what happens, but I remember liking it. Like, so let me watch it again and see what I find.
Oh yeah, that's actually...
I think it's very charming. I think it's charming. Like and it's not just Ryan Reynolds' charm that carries the movie. Like Jodie Comer's got great stuff to do. Joe Keery, all versions of him have got great stuff to do. The only person that I really feel that was kind of, I don't want to say miscast, but just they didn't bring anything to the role which surprised the hell out of me. It was Taika Waititi. It didn't feel like it's probably the worst I've ever seen him, and I feel like it was just. But again, I wonder how much of that comes down to the direction, like the negative review says. You know, like Shawn Levy is solid. He doesn't always make. He never makes great stuff, but he makes consistently good stuff. Arguably, you know, he has hits and misses, but you know, he's a slightly better than working director, if you know what I mean. Like, he's not an auteur by any standards, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a project's going to be bad. I just don't think that Shawn Levy has got it within him to make something phenomenal.
Right. I mean, to highlight that word unfocused, I know of like a behind the scenes sort of thing that Taika was allowed to do a lot of improv.
Yeah.
And so it does kind of, like, what we saw was probably just what they could use to quickly get those scenes done. So it depending on if we got, like, there could be some real gold nuggets in there which would have really elevated the character and the performance, but if they didn't quite fit, then it's just on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Yeah, that is the problem. You notice, it definitely felt like those kind of scenes. You noticed it in a lot of kind of like, This Is the End I use as an example for, Judd Apatow does it quite a lot, where it's just like, it's so improvised to the point where certain scenes just like stop dead. You're just like, yeah, I kind of get that you're trying to be funny here, but none of it's really working. So
yeah,
and Taika doesn't normally suffer from that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it hasn't ruined my perception of him at all. I felt like it was the constraints of the movie as opposed to him in and of itself. But that is a good example of how I think, this movie doesn't quite get it all right when Taika Waititi comes off, in my opinion, as one of the least good things in it.
Yeah. I will say he does have, like, one of my favourite interactions in the film, which was the whole, do you think we're a team now? Do you think we should, like, have okay, we'll do a rally call. Okay, so on 3, 2, 1, we'll say our catchphrase, okay? 3, 2, 1, get back to work! And I was like, that's such, like, a dickhead boss thing to do. I love it.
But Channing Tatum outshone him, like, in such a small amount of time, as did the guy that they cast as Channing Tatum's, like, real, like, player.
Yes, that guy.
Although I have to say I was crushingly disappointed that wasn't Jonah Hill.
They missed a beat there.
Exactly. See, this is why I'm saying, why am I not in on these meetings? Some people, they're churning butter, and we need butter. Butter your bread. I'm churning gold, baby. You can buy all the butter you want with the gold.
Love it. Okay. So after those 2 paragraphs, there was like a paragraph and a half of plot, which you already gave us the plot. We don't need to do the plot again. So let's continue. So about halfway through this paragraph. The rest of this farrago of forced frivolity switches gears between the garish cartoon colours and constant mayhem of the video game and the drab reality of the real free city. Silliness reigns. Armed bank heists and exploding tanks dominate almost every scene, and in a movie that makes nary a word of sense on purpose, the clue words are desperation and comic bankruptcy.
All right, I'll touch on the bankruptcy thing. The lightsaber at the end, the Cap America shield with the Chris Evans cameo, like, they were fun, but when you sit back and reflect on it, you're just like, oh, Disney bought Fox, and so they're just throwing in all the Disney stuff.
That literally happened to me, where I was like, oh man, it was great that Disney allowed them to use the property.
Yeah.
Wait, who did the film?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like it suddenly somehow made Michael Bay seem like way more like ecological somehow. Like, it was just yeah. They were funny as they happened, but then I was like, yeah, that's left a bad taste in my mouth somehow. I think they really did. I think this film would have been substantially more interesting if they were able to do what video games actually do, which is like have players using skins, and just like make it actually more like Ready Player One did a really good job of it. Like how they got clearances on so many different video game characters
they owned
from all time.
Most of the ones in there.
I think, but other ones they must have paid for clearances. There were, because there were so many, and I feel like this film missed that a little bit. I think having Spider-Man swing through the streets, that would have been fun, and they own that. So it's like, well, kind of.
I would have almost preferred it to go the other way and have it fully. Like video games, they have it, but they call it a different name because of copyright.
Oh, you're talking about like the difference between FIFA and Pro Evo.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking like have it there, but be like, yeah, this isn't Cap Shield. This is a completely different shield. This has nothing to do with your established properties.
FIFA got, Ronaldo, and Pro Evo got Ronaldo. Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that going both ways. Like, I feel like it did neither, and as a result, kind of just sits in this. The potentials for what this could have been are what are most frustrating about it, but
Yes.
somehow it's so charming all the way through, and within reason, it moves pretty quick. The only times I really felt like it was dragging were the Taika scenes, and that's because I don't think those scenes were necessarily that they were the least funny stuff in there. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and that's. But yeah, I still think this is its intention and its heart's in the right place, and it's that thing that I've noticed in listening back to these podcasts that I really appreciate is that they looked like they had fun making it, which for a film of this budget and scale is quite challenging. I'm also really glad that it has done well, because this is like the only movie that isn't like a franchise. It's within reason. It's an original idea.
Yes.
Propped up by franchises, but you know.
Yeah. In that way, that original ideas are just a mixture of other ideas that we've seen. But we've already spoken about that multiple times. Okay, let us continue. Between computer-generated action setups, the movie bogs down seriously, while the real inventors of the Free Guy game haggle over copyright and battle the villain. In brackets, outrageously hammed up by Taika Waititi in a performance that makes his campy Hitler in Jojo Rabbit look like a tranquilized audition. The target audience, people who waste their lives playing video games, might be amused by a movie about devices designed for the sole purpose of destroying everything in sight, but the serious audience the film industry wants to lure back to brick and mortar cinemas won't find much substance here.
I think it's unfair to label that against this film. The fact that it's actually done pretty well at the box office is a testament to it. I genuinely thought it was going to be the Fast and Furious that did the bigger numbers. I'm glad it's actually a more original film. I think it's crazy to think that bringing people back to the cinema means putting, smaller independent art house films out. That's those are a gamble at the best of times in this current age. I think it does take a much bigger film with a much broader scope. This is kind of, they're targeting this at all four quadrants, and I think that older people aside, I think three out of those four have turned up for this, and I'm really glad. I don't think it's a terrible film. I think it's I think it's good.
Yeah, I also, just to kind of highlight it, I really dislike the use of wording to say that it, like, serious audience the film industry wants, as if like it's kind of trying to gatekeep cinema.
Yeah,
and being like, if your film doesn't have like a big message, if your film is just explosions and good times, it's not a good film, it's not a serious film, and it's not worth the time of day. And it's just very
arrogant.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and this is the difficulty with that movies in general are having now. It's the big debate. It's like, at what point does your film have a better chance being on a streamer? Like the Duplass brothers have signed a contract with Netflix that, if I think they had a 5-picture deal, and it meant that their films were going to be advertised the day they came out on the front page of Netflix. Chances are, and I'm pretty sure this has happened, every single one of those films, they've made more money out of those. More people have seen them than they would have if they'd come out in the cinema. The first Duplass Brothers movie that I saw, The Puffy Chair, which I think came out in 2008, might have been 7. I saw that at the ICA in London, which only has like 30 seats in it. And so it's like, and let me tell you, I was one of maybe 5 people. Great film, still holds up, still great, but it's not on a streaming service. Like, and if it was, I think a lot more people would be talking about it still. It's also that thing that your film doesn't have to be successful for you to have a career, which,
Yeah.
you know, seems kind of crazy based on the way that, what's words have escaped me. I've had too much beer. The beer's come in now. Woo! Party time. Capitalism. There we go. You know, it seems crazy that in the capitalist society that's true, but it is also the case, you know. And then you see some films that come in cinema, and you're like, that felt more like a Netflix movie. So we are starting to get a sense of what it is. You know, like Stuber, for example, that felt so much like a Netflix movie, yet somehow got a big cinema release when it came out, and that film is not good. But that doesn't mean that all Netflix films are bad, but it's like, you know, we've lost that kind of ability with the streamers. When they first came out, when Netflix was really first pushing, which was about 7 years ago, with Orange is the New Black, it was a good show when it first started. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and they were like, Netflix is going to be the same as HBO. Well, this year, HBO has been killing it again. The White Lotus is amazing. Mayor of Easttown was fantastic. Hacks was genius. HBO still means a brand of quality. And Netflix means I can watch something.
Yeah, I do feel like it's one of those that Netflix, even though it's been around for a while now, it's still developing its catalogue, and it just doesn't have...
They're not going for
else.
quality. They're going for quantity. They're going for market share. And there's aspects of that which I'm fully on board for. Like, you know, when we watch a movie at home, it's like, should we see what's on Netflix? Even if we go and watch something on Amazon Prime, Netflix is the doing word now. It's the verb.
Yeah.
And so it's working, but does it mean a badge of quality? If Free Guy came out on Netflix, it'd be an even bigger hit than it was. In terms of numbers, but we don't know how those are calculated. I think people would be saying it's one of the best Netflix movies as well, which I think would be true. But the fact it came out in cinemas and is still all of those things means that they made the right call. And, you know, there is still a place for, you know, original ideas in cinemas. They can work, even if they cost whatever this cost, which I'm assuming is about $150 million once you factor in the market.
Probably. I mean, to go off of that, how long do you think it'll be until it's on Disney Plus? They've changed the windows now. Who fucking knows anymore? Do you know what I mean? It's like that was the thing that the exhibitors always had. It used to be 6 months before you could even put it out on VHS, and now I think that window went down to 3 months. For certain films, it's like 12 weeks. For other films, it's 6 weeks, a month. And it really does depend. You look at Warner Brothers; they're doing it like day and date, aren't they? With all their big films, Dune, and it's like, to me, I'm just like, I can understand in a pandemic world why that's happening. I really hope as we come out of the pandemic, though, that stops for those kind of movies, because I mean, I'm not especially excited about Dune myself, but I have no ties to the property intellectually anyway. But just watching the trailer, where I was just like, okay. Like, there was nothing about it that grabbed me, but you can guarantee that I'm seeing that in the cinema, because if there's one thing I can look at it and say, it's like, yeah, it deserves a big screen treatment. Yeah. But on the other hand, if something small came out, you know, like Candyman, I still think that deserves to be seen on a big screen. But it's also the kind of movie where I'm like, if they day and dated that, I could understand it. It makes sense, because the marketplace only exists for two budgets at the moment. You get your $5 million film and you get your $120 million film. You're more successful making either of those than you are anything in between, because anything in between is a gamble. It's not quite one of everything, and it's not quite enough. There's something unique that you can kind of count your losses. And we got really off topic from the review there, but we did. Just pull that back.
I hope you enjoyed that, viewers, listeners. Film 101 as I drink my beer.
Film 101, either spend lots of money or not a lot of money. Those are your only options.
That's it. Horror and action. Those are the big earners.
Yeah. Okay, so... there's a load of hypotheticals. I wonder if this will be any good. Guy wants to be more than another NPC, but it's hard to become... Yeah, but it's hard to become a leading player when the game's inventors are planning a sequel and he's not even going to be in it. Can he get off the screen and rejoin the real world? Can he bring his consuming passion for bubblegum ice cream to the video game? Can Blue Shirt Guy find true love with Molotov Girl? The movie makes a feeble attempt to say something satirical about online gaming and something critical about the evils of capitalism, but every idea is borrowed from so many other sources that you can't find a trace of originality with a microscope.
First thing I want to say is I really hope that reviewer has also seen Reminiscence, because I would love their take on that. I disagree. I think this isn't derivative in the way that I think you could say it's derivative. Like, it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's nothing. It's something like, for me, this movie is like the Lego Movie mixed with, I don't know, something. like
Ready Player
like
One?
Jumanji, Ready Player One.
Jumanji.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's those kind of things all mixed up, and there's a market for it. And I think it works. I never walked out of this film going, oh my God, I've seen this a million times. Reminiscence, on the other hand, you literally have seen every single part of that movie in every other movie, and somehow they've mashed it all together and made something that is uniquely dull. But uniquely dull, but not unwatchable. It's a strange film.
Okay.
It also feels like it would have worked better as a TV series, but this isn't about that. This is about Free Guy, and I don't think it's derivative in the way that you can go, oh yeah, you've stolen that from this, or you've stolen that from that. I think this is a movie that exists in a post-21 Jump Street world. It's nowhere near the dizzy heights of that because it hasn't got the surprise. It does have the Channing Tatum though, and I think there's a good reason for that. It's because it's that I think that movie changed a lot. I think it's interesting making that comparison now, because I would say that I would much prefer to see the version of this movie directed by the guys that did the Jump Street and the Lego Movie and what was everything they did recently? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think those guys would have had a far more interesting, fresher take on what you could do with this premise. Whereas this one feels, as I said quite earlier on, this feels like someone that loved it as an idea but didn't live the world that it's actually talking about.
Yeah, no, I can agree and understand that. Yeah, no, I don't think I have anything
That's it.
To add. I agree. It is one of those that it's. Let's go back to the review. Something satirical about online gaming and something critical about the evils of capitalism. Yeah, I guess I would almost say it was the satirical about capitalism as well, because of Taika Waititi's overly hammed up performance of being this whole, the only thing that matters are IPs and sequels.
And this movie probably thought it was being really smart by not being any of those things. But as we've said, it's so propped up by IP and sequels and our understanding of those things that it's like, but that in and of itself is like, whatever this movie wants to say, it doesn't ever say it with venom, and whatever it wants you to feel, it doesn't say it with enough heart. It's just, it's like you get the idea and you get a little taste of it, but you never get a full mouthful. And it's why it doesn't quite always work, but ultimately its intentions are true, I think.
I think to pull out one of my many metaphors and similes, it's a beautifully crafted sand sculpture. That will... It's beautiful to look at for a while, but when the tide comes in...
It's going to get washed away.
Yeah, it'll be washed away. It's not going to make a lasting effect. And in 5 years, as you already said, you'll be like, oh yeah, that film did come out. I remember enjoying it. Let's put it on now and see if I still enjoyed it.
And I'll feel exactly the same way, with the exception of the fact that there will have been a sequel by then, and it could have made or broke it.
Very true.
Yeah. And if they use my idea for the sequel, this is the piece of evidence I'd like to submit as copyright. I came up with that. They're clearly listening to this. They're clearly watching it, and they've had me away.
Exactly. This came out in September 2021. Timestamp it. Let's see what the calendar says.
Or this is that video of when they showed that video of Chris Pratt going I'm going to be in Jurassic Park 7, and then he got cast in Jurassic Park. It's like, maybe I'll end up writing Free Guy 2.
Hey.
My website details are at the end, Hollywood.
They are.
Just put it out
I do
there.
feel like they're going to need to get in contact pretty sharpish, though. I imagine that's already in the
Nah,
in
just
the
got the
writers'
rewrites,
room.
innit? Don't get a credit, but I'll make it what it is. Everybody, if you didn't know, Josh Whedon wrote Speed.
Okay, I what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that.
No. Next one is Virgin Final Girl half-star review. Predictably
Oh, that's her name.
bad.
Sorry, I got really confused there. It's
Oh
like,
no,
what?
I was just stating the review.
What a weird insult
pointing
at
at them
me.
and being like, Virgin. Yeah, no, that is their name. Virgin Final Girl. Half-star review. Predictably bad and not as fun as I thought it would be. Ryan Reynolds has used up all the goodwill he had with the 2 Deadpool movies, and I am no longer excited to see this one-trick pony do anything else except maybe Deadpool 3 when that comes out in 2027. Still very sexy though. Jodie Comer Femcell era was terrible, and she should stick to the BBC Clam Jam show with Sandra Oh. And something
That's
is wrong.
offensive. I just want to get on
That's
board there
so
and say that ain't
offensive.
okay.
Yeah. And something is wrong with your movie when I'm actually considering leaving the theatre every time Taika Waititi is on screen. So, offensive negativity there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way to not like something without, being offensive. So, try harder next time with your words. Choose them more carefully because words carry weight and they have consequence. And the consequence here is you're getting told off by me and Luke. And let me tell you, I've seen this. I've seen this man. He's the force is strong with him. The force is strong, and if he gets close to you, there's only 2 words I'm going to be saying: do it. Yeah, I mean, I talked about the Ryan Reynolds thing. I'm not sure what movie I gave up on it. I think it happened somewhere between Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 because Deadpool 2 I had nothing good for. But I can't remember everything else. Jodie Comer was good. I don't think she made the role as uniquely hers as she has with something like Killing Eve. But this isn't the movie necessarily that she's going to do that with. This is Scarlett Johansson doing The Island. This is her going from critical darling, everybody wants to see her and stuff, to Hollywood going, right, now let's get her in the eyes of everybody so that she can start having her own thing. I guarantee in no time at all, she'll probably be invited to join the Marvel Universe. I'm not sure what that means anymore. Like Phase 4 is really strange for that because they're not using, Eternals aside, within reason, they're not really using movie stars. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they remade movie stars, but those people are the biggest stars on the planet now. So it's like, are they going to be doing that
making
again?
Movie stars.
Yeah, and it's
Miss Marvel, the teenage preteen girl that they've cast for that Miss Marvel TV show.
Sure, is
going to be in the Marvel's film in a couple of years.
That's the sequel to Captain Marvel, right?
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, star power really has changed completely. Like our idea of what is a star in terms of a movie star now is limited to the people that are in the Marvel big tentpole movies. Do you know what I mean? It's like, to me, someone like Paul Giamatti is one of the most famous people on the planet, but he's actually not. So who knows? But no one's bad in this film. Even Taika comes out like you can walk out because of the scenes, but like it is the worst thing I've seen him do. But it's still not like awful. I'd rather watch this over Jonah Hill doing The Sitter. And then, that's why Jonah Hill doesn't do movies like The Sitter anymore. That's why Jonah Hill is like an indie darling who works with Leo and Meryl Streep and directs his own great films. Because, and isn't in the Marvel Universe. Really, when you think about it, Leo DiCaprio is actually the last true movie star. And Brad Pitt. Like, those guys are both from the last heydays of when it meant something. And they're the only guys that aren't doing big franchise movies, really. Do you know what I mean? It's like I suppose kind of I could see him popping up in one. Like, wasn't he in Deadpool 2? But, you know, Leo's not going to do it. Like, Leo's a bona fide 20 million a picture, doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. I mean, with the changing tides of the cinema landscape, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them. But no, it makes sense that they haven't appeared yet.
And Tom Cruise is his own franchise, but Tom Cruise is actually
built his own superhero.
But
franchise.
I will say he is actually like a movie star. Like, he's a bona fide movie star. Like, he's unto his own.
Yeah, but only because he built the movie.
I mean, Tom Cruise essentially is a director as well. Like, there's not like, you know, he's a powerhouse producer and he produces Tom Cruise.
Yeah. He's like, hey, director, come do this film. Your lead actor is me.
And also, I'm going to tell you how everything should be.
Yeah. And also, like, I'm not going to be a bad guy. I can be a little bit of a bad guy, but I'm not going to be a bad guy. So let's just change that. Also, I am the lead. I am the main character, and I am not the bad guy. Right. Last review. This is from Patriotic Pencil. It is a 3 out of 10. I hope you're ready for a short list.
Okay.
The Matrix, Groundhog Day, They Live, Wreck-It Ralph, Gamer, Boss Level, and Ready Player One is of the few movies I can name that Free Guy, quote-unquote, borrows many of its premise/plots to tell a story that has been told many times before. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, and only 2 times I actually started to enjoy the movie, it lost me by the presence of Taika Waititi, and the rest of the movie is ruined by the unnecessary wokeness and social commentary. Yes, it is a good movie to pass the time, but that is it. No more, nothing new, but especially nothing exciting.
Good heartfelt romance is the thing that elevates it above what they've just said it is. But it is a good movie. Like, it's a great movie to pass the time. Yes, the influence of all of those films on the list. I don't think it's been massively influenced by Boss Level or there's another one on that list that's a Gamer. I really don't think Gamer for me is more like how you do this kind of thing a little bit wrong, whereas this I think is a bit more knowing with it. But this is also appealing to the Fortnite generation as well. And that's why it's going for brighter colours, things like that. It is more like Wreck-It Ralph. And I think that the emotional romance of it, even though not fully explored, is the thing that actually makes it comparable to that. But it's more restricted by the fact that it's not an animation. Because this could be wild if it was animated. But I don't think being influenced by all of those things and kind of jamming it all into one thing, it's like anytime you do anything where someone's in a computer simulation, they're going to, it's the Matrix. It's like anything with computers, it's like, it's just like the Matrix. So it's like the way that it's like, if you're that critical of something, you must hate Jurassic Park because she's like, I'm a hacker. And then you see her this time and it's like, come on. It's like
tap, 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 tap.
A 6-year-old me knew that wasn't what hacking was.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's go through it. So, The Matrix, it's a computer world.
That's it. I love that.
Groundhog Day, they do the repeating scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
They Live, they're wearing sunglasses. That's pretty much, like, they wear sunglasses and see things
Does
that
someone chew
nobody else
bubblegum?
can see. Yeah. Wreck-It Ralph, video game world.
Yeah.
Gamer, people playing
Violence,
characters in the video game world.
Why not
It's
Avatar then?
video
Why is
game.
Avatar not on this list?
This is very true. Boss Level, I've not seen, so what can you draw as...
but you can't say it's derivative of Boss Level because anything that has a time loop is derivative of Groundhog Day. So in and of itself, you started a problematic cycle there.
Yeah. And then Ready Player One, they're in a video game, and they pull popular franchise imagery to boost up the film a little bit, I guess.
But arguably, if it weren't for things like Ready Player One, this movie probably wouldn't have got greenlit, because it's like, oh, there's actually a market for this. It's the same kind of trend that you see when, like Pirates of the Caribbean came out. And Hollywood went, oh, let's do loads of swashbuckling, or it happened with Gladiator. After Gladiator, you got King Arthur, and you got, it follows the trend. I went to a talk with David Fincher once, and the more recent It movie came out, the first one that Machete did, and he was saying, great movie and it's done really, really well. But what Hollywood is doing right now is it's going, hey, remember that script we had with a clown? And it's like, you're missing the point of why people like this movie. And it's like, I don't think that Free Guy misses the point of its own existence. I think it fully understands what it's trying to do. I think it achieves it. I don't think it's scaling the dizzy heights that the premise, given different writers or a different angle, could have gone to. But I was pleasantly surprised with the angle that it did go.
Yeah. Cool. And now we're going to go to the question of the episode. Is Free Guy awful?
No, it's awesome.
I'm gonna visually put it about there.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there. It's
like a 6, 7. It's on like the good side of awesome.
Yeah, so it's a solid 6.5.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a weird one because on paper, I personally should be giving this a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
but in practice, it's like it's not quite mixed well, and I think what you said about a redraft is probably it. It just needed a bit more work. It needed a bit more focus. Maybe some different improvised scenes needed to be spliced in.
I mean, that's the other thing with Taika as well. It's like, I wonder how many days they actually had him on set, because his schedule is mental. Like, as a director and an actor and a writer. So it's like, if you've only got him for 4 days, because you look at all of his scenes, you could have shot it out in 4 days, maybe 5. Like, if you absolutely had to.
They all take place in that one building. So I think
much.
It's 4 locations? The main computer hub, his office, the lobby, and then the server room.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's.
And then when he gets arrested, when he's like pounding through the crowd at the end, it's like it's not an impossibility that they only had him for maybe like 5, 6, 7 days, and it's like you get what you can in that time. And the fact that Taika was in this movie did make me want to see it more. So I guess star power is a thing, but to what extent? At what cost? At what cost?
I mean, to put a circle around that, what you just said about star power, I think what Ryan Reynolds did with the advertising for this film, because Ryan Reynolds is a superb marketer for his own fucking movies these days.
He's so good at marketing, because he is marketing himself. He's just like, you like this marketing? Well, that's what's in the movie. I'm funny.
And I'm pretty sure he thanked everybody, every person that did a cameo. He did a Twitter or an Instagram post being like, thank you to all of these people for being in the movie, thus creating a list for any person to look upon that list and go, hey, I like that streamer, that YouTuber, that actor, that famous Marvel actor. And go, oh yeah, I like them. I want to see what he's doing in this film. It's just, he's so smart. He's so smart. And then that whole Deadpool and Korg react to the trailer of Free Guy.
Yeah. He's a marketing machine. He's very, very good. Speaking of which, I'm tired of this Singer beer. What I need now is some aviation gin. Aviation gin. See, it works.
It does. Okay, hey, real quick, Shawn, what do you double bill this with?
I would say if you're going down the same route, Boss Level, because there is an action movie element to this, which I think is in there, and it's something that is way worse in terms of its emotional core. And I think it would make you appreciate this one's a lot better. But also, this is an outside bet. But I'm gonna go down this way because it reminded me of that a little bit. I'm gonna go The Never-Ending Story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, throwing it out there. In a fantasy world, that isn't a real world, going on the kind of like video game quest. Really, like some great emotional stuff. Atreyu. Yeah, I'm just randomly putting that one out there.
No, that's fair. I have two as well, actually.
Go ahead.
So the first one is it's expected by anybody that's listened to a lot of this podcast. So this film gave me very Slaughter Race vibes. Slaughter Race being one of the games featured in Wreck-It Ralph 2, and thus Wreck-It Ralph is what you should double bill this with. My favouriteest of films.
I love that
because
film.
it just makes the most sense.
I love that film.
On the flip side of it, something that doesn't make sense but happened to me. Once again, I shall tell you the double bill that I did, and kind of works.
The by proxy double bill.
The by proxy, and kind of works because both films feature a character called Guy, and that is the film Old.
What a double bill!
Double bill that, like I did. Because that's how the film times.
This would be a great time to say we're running a competition. If you write in and guess what next week's film's going to be, you can win a shout out on the next episode and dinner with Luke. On you, the listener.
On the listener.
And by on you, I mean that you're paying for it, not the food is.
Not actually just on you. I'm not going to eat the food.
Yeah. It's Mackie D's. It's going to be a Mackie D's.
Mackie D's. Maybe over Zoom, because we have American listeners as well. So who knows how that practical is.
Well, Aviation Gin is American.
Aviation Gin. Hey, Ryan, if you want to guess. Anyway, right. Sean, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, are you busy? Are you still busy?
Oh boy, it never stops.
Never stops.
It never stops. It's finding time to do this is challenging, as you know, by trying to organise me. But I thank you, and I will constantly try to make the time, and I will now be up till 2 a.m. doing what I was supposed to be doing in these 2 hours.
Oh dear. But yeah, if you want more from Sean and his amazing abilities, SeanGrimsleyFilms.com.
Correct.
Of course. For more of Your Favourite Film is Awful, you can see us on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Facebook. Your Favourite Film is Awful, apart from Twitter, which is Fab Film is Awful. That is it. That is the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've had a lovely day. Goodbye.
Au revoir.
What's your favorite film? God, that's awful.
Favorite?
Awful. Awful. Your favorite film is awful.